most of the print buyers he hears are not seasoned collectors.
Vivian Maier is a game changer in the art world in a big way. The art market's kind of getting a kick in the pants, so to speak, by the story of Vivian Maier. And the story of Vivian Maier is a story of a populist movement.
While Vivian Maier has become a popular phenomenon, art historians and serious collectors have been slower to jump on the bandwagon.
I call her an excellent student, not an excellent master.
Stephen Dater collects vintage photography and runs a Chicago gallery.
She basically took a bunch of very, very good pictures, but in my mind, a lot of the best pictures remind me of other people's work. I see the influence of Cartier-Bresson and Lee Friedlander and Diane Arbus and various other photographers in the work. That is actually a very difficult technical skill. The thing is that she didn't go beyond that.
This is not what I think about her work. I actually think she took some wonderful pictures. I have a bigger problem with how she's being presented. You know, a lot of these tags as the greatest photographer of all time, redefining the history of photography and that sort of thing. Where you have a nanny who was an obsessive compulsive.
The children she cared for have been quoted as saying she was like Mary Poppins to them. Eccentric, delightful, taking them on great adventures. A later employer paints a more complex picture.
When I told neighbors and friends of ours about the interest about Vivian Maier, she says, that awful lady, she had terrible manners. Very strong, very determined.
She wasn't a wallflower, that she wasn't kind of lurking in the darkness, that she would go right up to people. She wasn't afraid to take their pictures.
Really never had a chance to do during her own lifetime, and so the portrait that emerges is a portrait of a brilliant artist. You take one look at her self-portraits, for example, and you see the way Vivian saw herself. She knew that her work was good.
Not trying to charm anybody. She's ruthlessly honest, and I think she should be taken seriously.
She was aware of other artists.
Had the intention to show her work, and maybe had taken jobs as a photographer.
Who knows if art historians and collectors will eventually count Vivian Maier among the greats, like Robert Frank and Walker Evans.
Just to redefine the history of street photography or her place in the photographic world. And, you know, I remember reading these things and I saw a few photos and I'm like, wow, okay, this is interesting. I want to see more. And then you start flipping through her work, and while she is very good, and this is where I'm going to get into trouble with a couple of you, there is nothing that stands out that says, oh my God, where has this been? And
her portraits are so amazing. Do you remember seeing her photograph strangers on the street?
Yes. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And would she do it very quickly before they could object? Would she ask their permission? Like, what was the process?
It usually, almost always, I mean, like I said, sometimes she's talking with them and then she'd take a picture. Usually it was just point and shoot.
It's funny, it's easy seeing these pictures to imagine that she's this solitary figure wandering around, kind of a sad figure, a loner, an outsider, looking in on other people who are really having real, full lives. And I'm wondering, is that picture of her accurate?